Coming up next on this special technology and innovation edition of Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about a company that incorporates high-tech ideas for military and security concerns. We'll look at a recent survey on the quality of high-tech workers, and ASU is part of a new project promising a significant advance in solar power technology. Those stories next on this special edition of Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the special technology and innovation edition of Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. We begin tonight's show with a company that applies high-tech ideas to security concerns. StrongWatch Security is a Tucson-based fixed and mobile surveillance company that targets the needs of border security, law enforcement, and the military. Drew Dodds is an executive at StrongWatch. Drew, thank you for joining us on Arizona Horizon.
Thank you for having me today.
Let's talk about the company's focus. What exactly do you do?
Well, StrongWatch is a surveillance innovations company that was founded in April of 2008, and we create solutions that protect people and assets.
And it sounds like it's mobile surveillance technology here. What does that mean?
So we have two core offerings. One is our mobile surveillance solution, aptly named Freedom on the Move, which is a very rugged and robust surveillance system that's typically mounted in the back of a pickup truck and has different capabilities such as infrared cameras, color cameras, laser rangefinders, DVRs, streaming capabilities. It's a gyro-stabilized system, so it can actually be used while you are on the move. And then second to that, we have our autonomous fixed surveillance solution, which is called Freedom 360.
Okay, so mobile and fixed as well.
Yes, sir.
Now, was this used in the Yarnell Hill fire?
Our mobile asset was.
How so?
Well, it was really a two-part story. By day, we were assisting the firefighters with detecting hotspots using the thermal imager and being able to relay that information by a cellular network. So we could stream that information to a firefighter's smartphone, and they could utilize that connection with their smartphone and our thermal imager to walk themselves onto something that they can't see with the naked eye.
Was this the first time it's been involved with this kind of a situation?
On the fire side of the house, it is. And that was what we were doing in the daytime, and by nighttime we were basically marring up with the county sheriff to do patrols of the evacuated areas just to make sure that no looting was taking place. People were staying on their property if they had stayed.
And you were recognized by Congressman Ron Barber for this particular activity.
I was, and we were as a company.
And that, as far as StrongWatch is concerned, it sounds as though there's a security aspect, obviously, to this. Talk about who your customers might be. Obviously, this was state and government up here, state and local government, and the feds to a certain degree. Is that basically who your customers are?
You know, our customers are public safety in general, both state, federal level. We also have commercial opportunities, but it's predominantly state level at this time.
Border security?
Everything from border security to homeland security, emergency management, first responders of all types, even on the fire side of the house as well.
I was going to say law enforcement and border security in general. The use of technology, it's really increasing, isn't it?
It is. We have to keep up with the challenges that are faced every day by the folks that are doing the dirty work.
And emergency management, we saw the Yarnell Hill fire. Give us some other examples of how what this Freedom on the Move could work in certain situations.
Well, if you had a catastrophic event, say a large earthquake or whatever you might have, you can utilize a thermal camera to detect human heat signatures for potential survivors of a catastrophic event. Give exact geospatial information, so follow-on forces know exactly where either a threat or somebody might need help might be. A lot of different use cases for the emergency management folks.
What about overseas clients? What about overseas governments? What about folks that you may not be too sure what they're going to use something like this for? How does that work?
Well, obviously we have to be very careful, and we have quite a bit of due diligence that has to be done when we're working with people, whether it's in the States or abroad. We're currently supporting many more stateside opportunities right now than we are internationally, but we certainly intend to grow in that direction as well.
But you did, are there State Department requirements when it comes to things like this, or?
There are export regulations to make sure that somebody that shouldn't have the technology doesn't get it.
Yeah, I hear you. How did the company get started?
Well, originally we had a pretty deep fundamental basis within the video analytics world, and this is predominantly on the backs of three gentlemen, Mark Howell, Mike Powell, and Andy Griffiths. And they had originally come together to do some very interesting video analytics work, and that basically morphed into the hardware side of the house when we were successful in securing an opportunity to basically build these systems for the U.S. Army and the government.
So was there a particular idea, a particular spark that got things going from the theoretical, the design board, to hardware and ready to go?
I think a lot of it was just what was driven from the operator's needs. Like a lot of technologies, we saw a fundamental gap in the situational awareness that both warfighters and public safety has in general. And we wanted to create a system that was robust, that would help them maintain situational awareness and realize where the threats might lie with actionable intelligence.
How difficult was it to get from idea, again, from drawing board to marketplace?
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. We've spent a lot of time out in the field with operators, getting direct feedback on system features and what's helpful, what's not, taking that feedback from operators, going all the way through the engineering process to get to a fully baked product.
And as far as the costs of this fully baked product, what are we talking about here?
It really depends on how it's built. We don't have any one system that's really built like another. They're all suited specifically for the end user. So it's really a pretty broad range of pricing, and it also depends on whether it's federal, if it's state, if it's international. So it's a little bit of a difficult question to answer.
Okay, I can understand the situation there. Based in Tucson, why?
Tucson is home. So everybody on the team is raised in the area, with the exception of a couple of folks, but we are a hometown company, and Tucson's where we live.
And do you find that we do obviously a lot of technology and innovation stories here on Arizona Horizon, and we're always trying to figure out where the action is and why the action isn't in certain spots. What are you seeing out there as far as technological development? This is obviously security concerns and surveillance and this sort of thing, but overall, what's happening out there?
Well, it seems like there is definitely a growing need for what the law enforcement and public safety arena would call a common operating picture, being able to share actionable intelligence in real time. And that's certainly something that they're pushing to the forefront for first responders, whether it's an event like the Boston Marathon attack or if it's just a simple crowd overwatch event. Being able to share intelligence in real time is critical for maintaining situational awareness, not only at the operator level, but also at the command level, so they can make the appropriate decisions.
Last question, what's next for StrongWatch? Is it refining what you have? Is it moving on into different fields?
I would have to say sticking to our core competency is going to be our strength moving forward. With that said, there's always the need to integrate new features, new components, new technologies into the already existing technology to create what we call a one-off solution.
Will that mean staying in Tucson, or does that necessitate maybe moving somewhere else?
Tucson is home for us, so that's where we're staying.
All right, well, it's good to have you here, and it's good to have you joining us on Arizona Horizon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
A recent poll shows that leaders of high-tech companies are concerned about a lack of tech talent and the quality of education in science, technology, engineering, and math. Stephen Zylstra is the chair of the Technology Councils of North America, which conducted the survey. He's also president and CEO of the Arizona Technology Council. Again, thanks for joining us.
Great to see you.
Okay, this poll shows that there's a lot of things in here, and I want to get to this lack of tech talent in a second here, but for the optimistic side, it shows that most firms do plan to hire in the next 12 months, don't they?
Yeah, I believe that about 2/3 of the over 1,700 CEOs around the U.S. indicated they're planning to hire this next year, as well as make investments in innovation and products and capital investments as well. So I think overall there's a feeling that the economy is improving and they need to start investing.
Okay, now let's go to the other side of the ledger here, because it sounds like there's concern over lack of tech talent. Talk to us about that.
So nationally, this is an issue. A couple of years ago here in Arizona, we actually did a very comprehensive workforce study around tech talent and confirmed the concern that most companies have. What we realized, though, is that, and the poll indicates this, that Arizona is actually doing better than a lot of places. We determined that we don't have as much of a brain drain as a lot of other states have. A lot of STEM graduates are staying here in Arizona. And we find that companies find it relatively easy to attract talent. This is a great place to live and work. But even with that said, it's very difficult for them to find the talent that they need. Part of it is just there's a national shortage.
Is that shortage enough to hinder growth? We'll start with Arizona, go to the country. I mean, is it that serious?
I believe it is. Over the last couple of decades, as you probably know, the tech industry has been hiring talent from overseas under H-1B visas. In fact, the recent immigration discussion would have doubled if it was successful in getting past the number of H-1B visas for tech talent. So that's one of the things that happens, is either we go overseas and bring talent here under visas, or some companies will take the jobs overseas, and that's a big concern.
So, why? Why is this happening? It seems like we've talked for years about the STEM education and these sorts of things need to be increased, science, technology, engineering, and math. It sounds like a lot of schools are trying. Are we just waiting for the results here? What's going on?
Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, to pursue a STEM educational path is very tough. It's tougher than a lot of other curriculums. Taking calculus and physics and kinds of things that you have to take in STEM fields is tough. So the pool is just not as big as it might be for some other things. And then mega economic trends sometimes get in the way. You recall there was a dot-com bust in the late 90s, early 2000s. And as a consequence of that, a lot of talent went to, of all places, Wall Street, right? Because those same analytical minds can work in the finance field as in the engineering field. Now that industry went bust a few years ago, and so hopefully the trend starts coming back the other way.
You seen a little bit of that already?
A little bit of that. We're beginning to hear that from deans of colleges and universities in both IT and engineering.
The poll showed concern over the quality, not just the fact that not enough kids are getting in there, but the quality once they are there. Talk to us about that.
So particularly in the IT field, that's the case. Students who are graduating don't necessarily have the requisite skills to hit the ground running. An additional complaint is a lack of soft skills, team building, communication skills, some of those things that students should have learned in high school, but aren't.
Why aren't they learning? I mean, that surprises me. Why aren't they learning those sorts? I would think that social would be the one thing most kids would be able to handle these days.
All I can say is that pretty much across the board and around the country, this is a complaint of companies that kids graduating from high school don't possess the requisite soft skills to be effective in the workplace. And I believe that that's an issue that our K-12 education folks need to take a look at.
Okay, now the poll looked at a bunch of other things as well, and we talked about this earlier. I want to hear more about this, the increase in demand for tech. Are we seeing that overall? Are we seeing it particularly in certain sectors? What are you seeing from this poll?
Well, I would say overall the tech sector is doing well. Even in the midst of the Great Recession, the unemployment in the tech space was about half of our overall employment. So things are starting to heat up again. Companies are, as I said earlier, willing to make new investments in R&D, in product development, and other training and infrastructure that they weren't willing to make over the last few years. I think the industry is more upbeat. I would say that Arizona is a little bit more upbeat than some parts of the country. New England, for instance, a little bit more pessimistic. Maybe having a tougher time than places like the West, but overall a good attitude that things are heading in the right direction, although still some concerns about the economy overall and whether or not we're really out of this or not.
Yeah. You talked about companies willing to invest. Are they finding access to capital?
It's actually one of their greatest complaints, and one of the areas where they feel that government could be doing more to help facilitate that, particularly in the state and local areas. And in fact, the Tech Council is working on an initiative to try and create an early stage venture fund here in Arizona through legislation. So bring it right home.
So, well, let's get back to what would you like to see? One thing you would like to see Arizona leaders, they look at the poll, they look at Arizona's place in the poll. What do you want to see them do?
Well, I think Arizona's primary deficiency right now is capital. I think we have a lot of good talent, maybe not as much as we need, but there's good talent here. I think the state, through the legislature and the governor, has done a lot over the last few years to improve the business climate here in Arizona. And as you've noticed, we're beginning to attract a lot of companies, not the least of which is Apple.
So the initiative you were talking about, what exactly would it do?
Well, what it would do is it would use tax premium or insurance premium tax credits to capitalize a fund. Insurance companies would get a tax credit for investing in this fund. Administered through the Arizona Commerce Authority, it would make investments in early stage venture funds.
Nothing hitting
or
general,
in early stage tech companies.
and nothing hitting the general fund.
Not hitting the general fund,
Yeah.
except for revenue that it might have otherwise gotten because it gave a tax
That's
credit.
right, because, okay, so we have to kind of put that on the other side of the ledger. Second year for this particular survey. Have you seen any major changes? When you look at this after the first year, what strikes you?
Well, people are more optimistic. I think there's a general sense that the economy is improving, things are getting better. They're more willing, as I said, to make critical investments, and that's the main difference that we see. And as I said earlier, the concern about finding talent is increasing. As the economy heats up, that concern also increases.
So overall optimism I'm hearing in the tech sector, Arizona's place in that optimism.
I believe Arizona is a little bit more optimistic than the rest of the country, and I think that has a lot to do with what's happening in general around here. As your last presenter talked about, the economy is improving in Arizona. People are starting to buy homes again. And all of that generally good news that's going on makes people feel better.
And last question, I've asked you this kind of in different ways before, I want to ask you again. Are we a player in the sense that we're now in the tech crowd, or are we still trying to catch up to a crowd that's also running ahead pretty strong?
I would say that the Apple announcement is a critical milestone for us, that Arizona has arrived from a tech standpoint. We are fourth overall in aerospace and defense, fourth overall in semiconductor and electronics, and 2 overall in data centers. And some of the other early stage sectors are starting to pick up as well.
All right, encouraging news there. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We move now to a national project that looks to advance the ability to convert sunlight into electricity. The project will be led by a team of ASU engineers. The team itself is led by Stuart Bowden. Good to have you here.
Great, thank you very much.
Oh, this is a national project, solar cell efficiency. What are we talking about?
So solar cell efficiency. So solar cells are a pretty great technology. At a sort of very basic level, you have this crystal and you shine light on it and electricity comes out. It doesn't get much sort of simpler than that. But one of the challenges and one of the sort of our job and as the team and that I'm leading is how can we maximize the amount of electricity that we can get out of that crystal. So in the past, the amount of electricity we might have got out would have been like a curiosity, something you might have sort of seen in little children's toys, but now it's a real industry. So what's a really interesting statistic is over the last, say, 30 years, the cost of photovoltaics has come down by a factor of 100. So it's sort of been, this sort of niche market to something real that we can all put on our roofs. So what that means is, in say Arizona, in a lot of places, it's cost effective. So you put it on your roof, it'll pay back over the life of the system. but it's not true everywhere. So, you know, there's parts of the country which unfortunately aren't as sunny as Arizona. And what we're doing is we're going that extra bit, which is taking the cost of photovoltaics down by another factor of 2. And the way we're doing that is by increasing the efficiency. And to do that, we need a large team of people.
Is this increasing the capacity and the efficiency to capture or to store?
It's to capture. So what we're doing is we're increasing the efficiency of when the sunlight comes in, how much electricity comes out.
Does this mean thinner cells? What's the plan
Yeah,
here?
so what we did here is we sort of went back to the sort of fundamentals of photovoltaics. And we'd been making photovoltaics kind of the same way for the last 20 years, and we'd used a lot of technologies which came from the integrated circuit industry, computer chips. And that's great if you're making computer chips because you can make those pretty expensive. You can still make lots of money. Intel still does pretty well for themselves. But for photovoltaics, the whole cost structure is really different. We need to make things cheap, really cheap. And so what we did is we said, okay, well, there's some processes that we're sort of seeing in the way we make these that are a bit expensive. So how can we go back to the fundamentals? So we went back to thermodynamics, which is sort of governs the way everything works. And we looked at that and said, okay, we're going to come up with a new device design, new device physics that will enable us to get higher efficiency, but without increasing the cost. So it's a higher efficiency device, but it's actually simpler to make.
Is it just a new design without new materials, or are new materials involved as well?
Right. It's actually, yeah, so it's a good question. What we're sort of doing is we're involving some new materials, but the base technology that we're using is crystalline silicon. So the PV panels you see all around the city, a lot of those are made from crystalline silicon. And so what we're doing is we're combining that really cheap material, a really well-known material, it's really stable. So we're combining that with some newer materials. So we sort of figure this is pretty important because we get the stability, the known sort of potential of some of the existing materials, but combine that with some new materials that enable us to get much higher performance.
Are we talking big time exponential advancement, exponential increasing efficiency?
We don't need an exponential. What's interesting is we don't need an exponential increase in efficiency. So with this particular project, what we'll be doing is taking current photovoltaic systems from 20 to 25%. And you think, it's not going to make much difference. But if you look at the economics of it, if you're at 15%, you just can't sell them. So 20% is about where you start making money. 25% you start making pretty big inroads. But what's even more interesting is that we know through the sort of similar device designs that we can get up to 86%. And so that will be an enabling technology. So I guess that's kind of the next project.
And indeed, it sounds like the goal, as you kind of referred to earlier, making solar more economically competitive. When does it become more economically competitive?
That's a good question, and it depends who you ask. So I've been in photovoltaics since I was an undergraduate. So I've been working in it for a while. And if you work in photovoltaics, you often get the question, do you have PV on your roof? And it's one of those things, like most homeowners have got a few things to deal with, you've got the plumbing and all that.
Sure.
But it's just last week I finally signed up for photovoltaics.
Well, look at you.
So I sort of figured out the economics were enough. They could justify it to the family that it's economic. So it's a 10-year payback, which I was comfortable with. Maybe a few people are comfortable with. And what we want to do is reduce that down. So for everyone it's a no-brainer. It's like installing an air conditioning system. You think, okay, which photovoltaic system am I going to install?
And talk real quickly about advancing the integration of solar into the grid. Where does that stand now? What can be improved technologically or otherwise? It's going to continue to be a challenge. The industry's changing. Any large industry that changes, it's always going to cause some disruptions. The phone industry is probably an example you like to follow. They went from having a fairly sort of centralized fixed system, and now you have mobile phones for everyone. Like when mobile phones first came out, they were viewed with kind of suspicion. Like, there's these funny things that only stock market people had. But now they're ubiquitous. Everybody has one. And we can sort of see some of this starting to happening with the electricity grid, that going from a centralized system to more of a cellular system. So the same reason we call the mobile phone system a cellular system, we'll start to see that with photovoltaics.
and this will be tied into the whole smart grid concepts.
Feel like we're on the cusp of
Yeah.
some big advances here then?
Yeah, so I think it's time.
On the cusp enough to get you involved back
It's-
into putting them on your roof.
It's enough to get me to get them on my roof. So my mum got there first. So
Well, good for her. Hey, before you go now, MIT universities in Australia, Switzerland, and how did ASU get involved in all this?
So ASU is the lead for this project. We started a centre at ASU about 4 years ago. We built up enough technology. We got a few world records. We built up a pilot line where we have the students come by and make solar cells. And we just went out there and attracted the other partners, talked to them, said, okay, what technologies can you bring to it? So each partner brings a technology. The University of New South Wales in Australia sort of got involved, sort of part of my background being Australian. But yeah, and so by bringing together the technologies, and we find this with photovoltaics, it's a worldwide industry. You need people from everywhere to make a contribution and bring this next stage.
Well, congratulations. Good luck on the project, and congratulations on the new addition to your house.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And that is it for now. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Arizona Horizon. You have a wonderful evening.
If you have comments about Arizona Horizon, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Your comments may be used on a future edition of Arizona Horizon. Thank you. Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.